I waited till after the vote to make these comments for two reasons. Number one, when I woke up this morning, I looked out my window and I saw this horse running out the barn, and that horse was these papers. And so I knew that these votes were going to be cast in the way they were cast today. So the argument, to make an argument against or an argument to hold, would have been an exercise in futility. The second reason is I didn't want to step down over here. As council president, if I want to engage in debate, I have to step from the podium. But really I wanted to make this statement not as someone engaging in debate as a member of this round, but I wanted to make this statement as council president. Mr. Mayor, members of the administration, operating agencies, procurement, aviation, and the scores of city employees who are here in this room right now, I certainly want to applaud you for your hard work. And as you and I discussed earlier, Mr. Mayor, and as I've said to others, I give the administration an A+ for their aggressiveness in bringing these items before us today. As I look out in the audience, I see friends and supporters, some who actually are going to now be concessionaires at the airport, and some who will not be concessionaires at the airport for at least the next 10 years. And so, with all that being said, my umbrage is not with the folks in the audience. Council members, I just want to express a certain degree of concern with this body and our work and how we do our work. In many ways, this was a defining moment, whether we choose for it to be or not. It's not a question of whether or not the administration has shown any level of respect or regard for this body, but it's really about whether or not we have shown any respect and regard for ourselves. As a council, we have a process that we have set up that is in keeping with the citizens' expectations of us and of our roles as council members, to represent, to deliberate, to be transparent, and to ensure accountability in city government. Unfortunately, I just don't believe in this process that we've been able to exercise those virtues and those responsibilities. Not because we received packets from the administration the day before the evening before the Transportation Committee. Not because the administration came to us and said, please vote on this now. We know we just gave this to you 6 or 7, 8 hours ago. We really have put ourselves, in my opinion, in harm's way because we chose to put in place a process or lack thereof on our own volition. And we chose to do it when we had the power and the authority to put in place a process that the citizens expect of us. And so I don't mean to make these comments to berate the council. I'm technically not a member of the council. I don't have a vote. But I certainly care about the integrity of this body, and I care about all of my colleagues, and I care about what it is that we all have committed to do every day. And so I think going forward, we really need to take into consideration how we fulfill our role as a council. There are questions that colleagues who have proclaimed to have been deep into these documents over the last 2 weeks. There are questions that if I were to pose right now, they wouldn't know the answer to. But some sound deliberation and consideration and back and forth and collective exchange as a body, literally, that's why we have this round. So as a collective body, we can ask questions in each other's presence. And some of those questions that I know that many of us don't even know to ask could have been asked and possibly answered. So I just want to share that. I think I would not sleep well tonight if I didn't share that publicly with my colleagues. Some of you may not take it well, but that be it as it may. I just encourage us in the future to take what we do very seriously, and not to say that we don't, but to certainly know that everything we do certainly is observed, and I learned this from Councilmember Martin. Everything we do is observed by the silent public, not always by the vocal public, by the silent public, and they have those cherished expectations of what we will do that they hold dear. And so we should not forget that, even if we do not hear from citizens. Again, I want to certainly express in a similar fashion the level of excitement that I have about the opening of the international terminal, about the impaneling of the new concessionaires. What I've been able to glean thus far from my review of the documentation, I think we may be on to something that is pretty neat, and that may even need to be replicated or potentially replicated around the country. So with that being said, I don't want anyone to think that I am not supportive of what we're trying to do at the airport and how important our airport is. Let's just make sure that as a council and as a city that we do everything in our power to protect the things that are so cherished to us, to the city, and to our citizens. And so with that being said, I'll relinquish the floor and end my comments. Mr. Martin.